Good morning and happy Monday to everybody out there. We are joined today by a local author, Jon Pariseau. He's been on before, but he's got some updates, and we're excited to hear that. But first, we have a word from our sponsors.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
Good morning, and like I said, today we are joined by author Jon Pariseau, and he was in a couple of months ago, I think, wasn't it?
I think it was back in spring, April.
Okay,
maybe? Yep.
okay. He was here in the spring with Jen and talking about his book, Scarred, and so some stuff has happened since you were here last.
Yes, one of the big changes is I've now got a website. Which makes it easier to find the book, Scarred, Healing, and Moving Forward. And really the website's pretty easy. It's Jonathan, that's Jonathan, Pariseau, that's Paris, like in France, and then EAU.com. If you Google, search that, whatever search engine I guess you use, if you do that, it'll take you to the book, and if you're interested in the book, you can actually get it there. Because I've noticed it's on different places like Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Walmart. But if you go jonathanpariseau.com, you can find the book there.
Okay. And Liv will put that in the comments as well. So if you didn't catch the spelling, she'll make sure that it's in the comments for everybody too.
Sure.
So why don't you remind us about your story and about the book and your journey to writing the book as well.
Sure. Scarred, Healing and Moving Forward. I didn't do heal because I think with emotional scars, and that's what the book's about, it's a process. And it's a process that can take a lifetime. I've read some pretty nice reviews about the book. Obviously, I'm complimented by some of the reviews. I don't see the negative ones yet, but one review said I come at it from a perspective of someone who was in the social work field for close to 30 years, as well as someone who was in the quote system, children's services and whatnot. And there are plenty of people today that are going through a lot of emotional tough times. And I think I was saying last time when I was up here, I don't know of anyone who can honestly say they've never been scarred emotionally. I think that's something a lot of us have in common. So I've been told throughout my entire life, it seems, I was adopted at the age of 7 here in Jackson County. Dennis and Donna Pariseau, the late Dennis and Donna Pariseau, they adopted in total at least 16 kids, had 2 of their own. So I'm from a family of 18. Everyone that has heard my story, dating back to when I was a teenager, as far as I can remember, they've said, you need to tell your story. And after a while, as I got close to the end of my career as a social worker, I thought, I owe it actually to people to tell my story, especially to those people who are going through some difficult times. And just to let them know that, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I always told kids when I was talking to them, 18's that magical age when you're an adult. Well, if you think about it, 18 times 2, I believe 36, right? I've already lived that 2 times over. 18 times 3, 54. I've lived it 3 times over. Lord willing, I'll make it to 4 times over. 72, I believe. Too early for math. But so if you think about it, the majority of your life is ahead of you. But yet when you're in that first 18 years of your life, it seems like an eternity. But, you know, as you get older, you also get more control of your life. Obviously, when you're younger, when I was young, Columbiana County Children's Services, Child and Protective Services, they had control over what I would wear, how I would act, what I would eat, and parents have control over a lot of their kids, especially young, and that's the way it should be. But the older you get, the more control you get, and as you get into those adult years, you do have control over much of your life. And I don't want people to think that because they're scarred emotionally that they can't get to that point where they can make good decisions and have control of their life.
One of the things that's always helped me about dealing with difficult situations is writing, is journaling about it. And so did you find that in writing it, that it helped you come to grips with some of your childhood and growing up in writing down your stories?
Absolutely. Social work term, therapeutic. My wife told me when I was writing the book, she said, this could be therapeutic for you. And really, it was just recounting a lot of what I've been through. Now, as far as updating people, I gave you the website. Also, the Ewing's Publishing Company rebranded the book, and this is the cover versus the old cover. I kind of like the newer cover where it's a little bit white up top.
And this is a hardback version that you brought in today as well, so you can kind of see.
And, you know, being from a family of 18, when I was younger, of course, I didn't think about death a whole lot. And I don't know that it's a pleasant subject that people like to talk about. But now at my age, I think about the different milestones I've had, being adopted, graduating from 8th grade St. Peter and Paul in Wellston, and then graduating from Wellston High School, graduating from college, getting married, working in that career that I loved. As a social worker, I think, what's next? Well, what is next? Is it going to be the end times? Bill Dunn, who was a co-author, he used to be, way back in the 80s, the vice principal at Wellston High School. Well, I talked to him before he passed, and I hope I can get to the point where he was at. He said he's lived such a blessed life that he's not afraid of dying, and he has since passed. And if I can get to that point where I can say, hey, you know, I'm not afraid. I've lived a blessed life. But with a family of 18, I had better be prepared to accept the loss of loved ones in my life, because that's a pretty big family. And then if you go to extended family, nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, uncles, unfortunately, it's going to be something I have to deal with, and I have dealt with it, with the loss of my adopted brother, and most recently, my sister, who's on the cover of the book. She just recently passed away, and she is my biological sister. And with her, it's interesting. I ended up having to write her obituary, first time I've ever done that. And it was kind of difficult for the first time because my sister, she was the oldest of 5 of us. There's only 4 on that couch because my youngest brother, he was an infant. and he wasn't in that picture. I was told that the lady that gave birth to us took that picture the day that she walked off on us. But my sister, who was the oldest, she went back to connect with our genetic relatives. Now, me and my two biological brothers, we definitely didn't agree with that. And the reason being is what she found out. There was a reason we were removed from that environment. Not just were we removed from people, we were removed from an environment. And over many, many years, that didn't change. And I think my sister found that out. But regardless of the differences, I felt like I had to be there for her. It wasn't that I wanted to be. Believe me, I didn't want to be in that situation. It is a very tough situation. But I had to be there. And I did what I had to do. And what I thought was ironic, and again, maybe I'm thinking from a social work point of view, when I first went into foster care, my sister and I were in several foster homes together. My two brothers were in foster homes together. Eventually, they separated my sister and I, and probably because I was a handful, I'm sure.
As 7 or 8 year old, 9-year-old boys tend to be. So.
Yeah, I was pretty mischievous. But she and I were in foster homes together, and she was protective, very protective of me, which I guess is understandable. Well, during her last moments on this earth, it was me and her again. It was just me and her. And I thought, wow, this is a complete circle. She and I were together in foster homes, and we were together at the end. So I'm in the process now of having to accept that loss. And I would encourage anyone to tap into whatever beliefs you might have. Quite frankly, yes, I do believe in life after death. I worship God. I know not everyone has those same beliefs. But when we're there, it can be scary. But like Mr. Dunn told me, he lived such a blessed life that he wasn't afraid of dying. So I'd encourage anyone to, tap into the beliefs that you have. And think about how are you going to handle those end times, not just with yourself, but with the many people that you love that probably may go before you do. And I always told people as a social worker, you don't get over death. If I were to say to you, hey, I got to work till 8 o'clock tonight and I'm used to getting off at 6, and you were to say, I'll get over it. I'd think, man, you really don't care. But if you said to me, John, just accept it. It's one night. That I can handle. And I think that's what it comes down to with death, in my own opinion. You don't get over it, but eventually you accept it. So
I agree. I 100% agree.
I'm at that point now where I'm going to have to accept my sister's death. I've accepted my dad's death, and his death was well over 20 years ago. I'm still not over it, but I've accepted it. My baby brother, who wasn't on that picture, he passed away. Back about the first time I was interviewed, he passed away. So now, out of a total of 6 of us, 2 have already passed away. And I say 6 because we also have a sister who's up in Pennsylvania. I found that out when I met my biological mom when I was in my early 20s. She's my half-sister, but, bottom line, she's my sister. So 2 out of 6 have already passed away. And this is just something I'm going to have to deal with, especially being from a family of 18. I'm just going to have to be able to come to terms with the fact that our life journey begins when we're born. It ends when we take our last breath.
So I don't remember. So of the there were 5 siblings, because the one was a half that was up in Pennsylvania, but there were 5 siblings
Right.
that went into foster care together, or at the same time.
At
went
the same time, yeah.
Were you all placed with the Pariseaus eventually, or were you distributed around?
Out of the 5 of us, 4 of us were placed together with the Pariseaus.
Okay.
And the youngest, my baby brother, another couple wanted to adopt a baby.
Okay, yes.
Which is understandable,
Yes,
probably,
very common.
because I don't know that I would want to adopt someone who's 7. I happened to be 7 at the time. My sister was 9.
Well, and to find a family that has the ability to, and the space and just the emotional bandwidth and the physical bandwidth to be able to care for 5 children.
Absolutely.
From an infant up to 9. I mean, that literally,
Yeah,
that would be a difficult placement. I
Mom
would
and
think.
Dad, they adopted me and 3 of my siblings, but they also adopted other groups of siblings as well. And I do admire them for that.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
So you were able to keep in contact with your baby brother, or was it as an adult that you
it was
found
as an
information?
adult. I
Okay.
always wanted to reconnect with him, and my wife always encouraged me to try to find him, and went above and beyond what she could have done. I did the ancestry, and evidently he had done it too.
Okay.
And that's how he and I ended up meeting. And I did meet his parents. I tend to leave out that word adoptive parents, because the bottom line, they're his parents. Now, his father has since passed. His mother is a wonderful lady, lives in Worcester, Ohio. Worcester, however you say that. She's a wonderful lady. And, I always thought he wouldn't have been affected by what I was affected by the first 5 years of my life, because he was just a baby.
Yeah.
In meeting him, I found out he was affected, which was amazing to me. He was affected, and God bless his mother and father for bringing him up. He was very lucky. I was lucky. He was very lucky as well. I didn't know what to expect when I met him, but yeah. His mother and I have since formed a friendship. We still communicate even to this day.
Okay.
Even though he's gone. So Mom and Dad wanted to adopt all 5 of us, but since he was a baby, his parents adopted him, and that's that story. So.
And of your foster siblings, your adoptive siblings, within the Pariseaus, you said there were 16, or approximately 16?
About 16. Now,
Okay.
I can say for a fact they had 2 of their own, so to speak, their own, were all theirs, 2 biological. But, they adopted, and now, granted, some of those kids were foster kids, but Mom and Dad, I don't think they approached it from their foster kids and their adoptive kids. If there's a kid in their home, and I've found out being a grandparent, being a parent, you can't spend, or at least I think, you can't spend time with a kid
Yes.
and not develop a bond.
100%. We had a lot of bonus kids that my children brought home, and we were always mom and dad to all of those bonus kids as well. So,
Yeah, I mean,
and we treated them as such. So.
You form a bond with them, and I think to myself, with my grandchildren, my great grandchildren, one of my grandson, he's 4 years old. I posted on Facebook yesterday. Yesterday morning, he asked me, he goes, "Pappy, am I being good?" I'm thinking, man, maybe I need to ask that question every now and then. Am I being good? Because we do need to remind ourselves that, we're human beings and we want to do the right thing. And he was conscientious enough to ask me, am I being good? Thank goodness he didn't ask me that the night before. But, yeah. when you're laying on the couch and watching TV, you're being pretty good. But the day's just begun. You're still waking up. But yeah, I think us adults need to ask that question every now and then ourselves: are we being good?
So did the progress that you went through from your original family, and then being placed into foster care, and then your life with the Pariseaus, do you think that led to your career choice to go into social work? And do you think it affected your ability to empathize with people that were in difficult situations and be able to help them to progress to be successful like you were?
Yeah, and I had someone else tell me that I'm a success. I don't see it. If success for me means I reached that point of being an adult, graduated college, was able to work in a career that I enjoyed for close to 30 years. Yeah, and raising a family and getting married. I mean, yeah, if that's success, okay, I'll take it.
I would think that is success. That's how I would judge that you seem like a happy and successful human being to me.
I do enjoy laughing. Some people, though, they'll tell me you hide behind that laughter, because if you're laughing, you don't really have to talk about the serious, hardcore stuff. I think, though, as I've gotten older and more mature, I can deal with those difficult subjects. But yeah, being adopted and having been through the system, absolutely 100%, it made it much easier for me to empathize and relate to people. And in talking to people, some people tell me, okay, you're the very first person I told this to. And they'll say, you don't understand. Well, of course, I'm not there to tell them my story. I'm there to listen to them and try to help them. But I tell them, I think I do understand. Now, to anyone that I talk to, if they've read the book, they then would be able to say, yeah, I understand now why he said he understands.
I think, I'm sorry, but I think that whether you walk the exact same path, which would be almost impossible to walk the exact same path as another person, but we all walk difficult paths in life, whether it's within childhood, within young adulthood, or even your senior years. We all walk difficult paths at different points in our lives.
Right.
And, they crisscross. But it allows you to at least understand, or hopefully that you understand, that other people go through difficult situations, and there may be crossover in the circumstances, but more importantly, in how you deal with those difficult situations. So even though a situation may not be exactly the same, how we deal with it, we can learn from each other. So.
And I look at athletes, especially athletes. They get a lot of physical injuries, of course. Probably emotional ones too, but physical injuries. And if you think about the therapy they go through to heal from those injuries and some of the steps they take to keep from injuring that same body part, when you hear that phrase, oh, you're putting up walls, you don't want to, I think that's a person taking steps to not get injured again, to not get hurt again emotionally. And so, it's no different. People say, oh, you hide behind a sense of humor, or you putting up walls, or you don't want to commit. That's a person trying to take steps to not get injured again. But what I found out is, yeah, I get it. I get why you're taking those steps. But, life can be great. It is wonderful. I've enjoyed life and continue to enjoy life, but I can tell you, it's also very difficult at times. I've already mentioned the loss of my sister, and I'm having to deal with that. And I will be at a point one day when I can say I've accepted it. And her memories, the memories I have of her, the memories that she made with others, those are going to continue to live on, even though she's no longer here. So,
But I think if we continually put up walls, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but if we continually put up walls and we don't deal with the emotions and coming to grips with what led us there, then we don't heal. And healing is a process, and you never know when grief or the stages of grief will pop up on you.
Right.
And it can be many, many years, and you may have even come to accept whatever it was that happened, and you'll never know when that will pop up.
Right.
I know for a fact my parents have been gone for decades at this point, and just randomly, like, something will pop up, and I will just almost walk through those stages of grief yet again. Yeah. At a different level. So it's not that raw wound. It's kind of like when you cut yourself, and it hurts a lot in the beginning, and then you progressively, it gets less and less, and then you may bump it like a week later, and you're reminded, oh my gosh, that still hurts. It's not the same level of pain, but it still hurts. And then a little while later, you'll see the scar on your hand and go, oh my gosh, I remember that. And then you have that emotional feeling again. And once again, it's not at the same level. It always moves down a little bit, but it's that constant reminder. It never actually stops hurting.
Right.
But and you never know what it is that's going to trigger that feeling. And my condolences to you in losing your sister.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I think it is impressive that, major heartwarming that the Pariseaus were able to take in so many sibling groups. I know in foster care, so many siblings are separated, and especially if they're very young, they may lose contact with their siblings that they had a bond with, and that childhood trauma will follow them through their lives. A lot of times they have trust issues.
Commitment issues.
Oh yes, definitely. And so many foster kids, especially ones that are moved repeatedly through the system, and don't find a stable home like you did with the Pariseaus. Right. They may move through the system until they age out, and then they're dealing with a whole other host of issues because they're not prepared to enter adulthood, as most 18-year-olds are not prepared to fully embrace adulthood. But a lot of these kids are jumping into adulthood without that safety net of a family, whether it's a physical safety net of having a home to live in, an emotional safety net to cry on somebody's shoulder or ask a question, a financial safety net. And so, the fact that the Pariseaus took in one sibling group, let alone multiple sibling groups, that is just absolutely amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And kept you guys together. So.
Yep, absolutely. And what you were talking about, physical scars, that's interesting because in the book, I talk about physical scars that I have that I can actually see, and they remind me of some of the ridiculous stuff I did and how I got those scars. And I'm thinking I'll never do that again. Famous last words. But I compare physical scars to emotional scars, and that's the best way I can describe emotional scars. And again, a lot of people say, I know where I was on 9/11. 9/11's coming up. And that's been years ago, but I remember exactly where I was, and I remember it being a beautiful day out, much like today. Those are emotional scars, in my opinion. Now, a lot of my emotional scars, I could ask, again, my 4-year-old grandson, I can ask him, do you remember when you and I did this a couple years ago? He was only 2. He doesn't remember. No. But you know what? If it was something horrific, traumatizing, there's a possibility he probably would remember that.
Or he may not remember it, but it may still affect him.
Oh, absolutely. I can remember things, and some things in detail from when I was 4 years old even. But a lot of those things aren't things I really want to remember, but they contribute to the emotional scars, I think. And I think with scars, whether it's physical or emotional, you learn. You learn from them.
I think they become part of who you are. I mean, my scars, whether they're physical or emotional, a lot of times they remind me that I am stronger than I ever think that I am, and that I can overcome so much and still be here.
Absolutely.
And whether that's, like I said, a cut on your hand, like, okay, I survived that, or it's kind of a dark spot that you have within your brain. It's like, okay, you know what? I dealt with that difficult situation. I can probably deal with this upcoming difficult situation as well. So I think they become who you are.
And I think getting to the point where I could actually put down my quote life story and writing, it was a big step for me. And I think, even when I was writing the book, I was taking steps to protect my siblings, because I don't mention names other than my own. And my adoptive parents, Dennis and Donna Pariseau, I mention them by name. And I'd like to think that my obituary will be a little bit easier to write than my sister's, because, like I say, she connected with the biological relatives. And I didn't want to ignore that in her obituary, but I also wanted to mention our family, the Pariseau family. Bottom line is, I'm a Pariseau. I was adopted. That's a side note, I think. I don't really have any connection to, nor do I want to have a connection to, the biological side. But, I got to be open-minded. Of course, and I got to admit, I come at this from a different perspective. When I hear of a kid that is in the system and the system's trying every way possible to reunite them with that genetic relative, I'm thinking, why? Don't give that kid a chance. Let someone else raise that kid. But again, I got to understand that sometimes there's a reason, I guess, that people walk away from children. And that's hard for me to understand sometimes, because, again, I do come at it from a different perspective. After I met my biological mom, I walked away thinking, thank God I was adopted, And I think my sister, having gone back into that environment, she realized, I know she did, that there was a reason I was removed from this. But
we always hope for the best. I mean,
it was her choice to do what she did, and my wife, I said, why did she go back there? And my wife said, probably the better question is, why wouldn't she? She was the oldest. She had a lot of memories. And when I have someone tell me something like that, it makes me think, man, I got to be more open-minded and kind of look at things from other people's point of view.
Well, and I'm sure that all of everything that your life leading up to the Pariseaus, and then your life Pariseaus forward, affected how you are as a husband, as a friend, as a father, and a grandfather, and get those children that go through traumatic experiences, whether it's in a family situation, or if they had a fire in their home, or a hurricane took out their home, or loss of a loved one early on. Those life happenings, those things that happen in your life, especially when they happen when you're young, I would say probably under 10, they really change your outlook in going forward. Like we talked about, like commitment issues. A lot of people, don't trust, and so they're like, they have difficulty in creating adult relationships or adult-child relationships. And I think it can go one of two ways. And I don't know if you agree with this as a social worker, but or as as a former social worker. But I mean, seriously, if you spent 3 decades as a social worker, I'm just going to go with you're a social worker. But it can really go both ways. You can either fall into how you were raised and do it the same way, or you can recognize what was healthy or unhealthy in those situations. Absolutely. And create a balance. And I know for me personally, that's what I tried to do. And I'm sure that I failed in some ways, as all parents, you, especially much later on, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I did that. But that, I tried to look at what my parents did and say, okay, you know what, I want to do that the same, or I wish that as a child I had had somebody to do this for me, and I tried to do that for my kids. And I think that comes from a perspective of childhood trauma and growing up. Is I want to, I think every generation should get better. We should recognize what worked and what didn't work, regardless of what it is, whether it's technology or relationships or whatever. I mean, we want to make the world better.
Absolutely.
I think, and part of that is in recognizing, and that may have been your sister's perspective too, is we all have questions. I mean, even now,
she had a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's like, why? What happened, and did I remember this correctly? Because when you're 7 or 9, your memories, and then once you're in your 60s, you're like, okay, did that really, did that happen the way I remember it? And so I'm sure that she had questions as well. So I'm sure when you met them, you wanted answers.
Oh yeah.
As well. But yeah, that's really difficult too. I mean, a 9-year-old, yeah. I mean, she would have had, almost a lifetime. When you're 9, you feel like you've already lived a lifetime.
Yeah.
And you haven't, but
you're 9 years old. You're halfway to the point of being an adult.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
And then as you get older, I think you start to look at childhood differently. It's only 18 years. But my 4-year-old grandson, he's probably thinking, my goodness, will I ever get to be that point?
We're all rushing to be adults, and then when we're adults, we're like, oh my gosh, I really would wish somebody would just make me a sandwich.
Yep.
I wish somebody else would make my doctor's appointments for me and stuff. But we're all rushing to be adults. And
and even right now, believe it or not, I'm applying things that I've learned over the years. I'll say her first name. I don't believe she would mind. But my baby brother who's passed, his mother, Linda, whenever I met Bill and we were taking pictures, I have a habit of crossing my arms.
Okay.
And kind of like reviewing the film from a game. I was not an athlete. I kind of looked at the last interview that I had here. Thank God for YouTube. And I was able to just put my name in the search. And sure enough, the last interview comes up. Well, I did this a lot. Mm-hmm. Linda said, and I guess she knows body language. She said, that's basically saying you're closed off. Mm-hmm. No one's going to get close to me.
You're protecting yourself.
You're protecting yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm conscientiously sitting here trying not to do that because I don't need to close myself off from you. And believe it or not, when I watched that interview, it was my grandson who asked, my 4-year-old, who asked, why are you doing that, Pappy? Why are you doing that? So, and I guess I don't want to be closed off, so I'm conscientiously trying not to do that.
Well, it's awesome, though, that he doesn't see you that way, that you don't do that when you're around him, because that means that you're open to him. So, I mean, it is a process of growth. Sometimes that growth takes, 4 or 5 decades to get there, but yeah, I mean, you're protecting yourself, you're hugging yourself, you're giving yourself what you hoped that somebody else would have done for you. So
I like that saying. I can't remember it word for word. It's better to have loved and lost than to have never loved before, or something like that. If I had it to do all over, I'll take all the hurt, I'll take all the downfalls, because there's also a lot of joy. And it just is how you approach the difficult times. Again, I think everything can be a learning experience. I'm not, and there are some people who would rather not talk about the truth, the fact that they went through this, and this. I'm going to embrace it. I mean, it's what I went through. And when I think about it, the lady that walked off on all 5 of us, she had a lot of emotional scars herself. She had to have. I honestly don't hate her. She's gone. But she had to have had a lot of emotional scars. Who would have 5 kids and then just walk away from them?
Yeah.
And those kids were all 1 year apart. My sister being the oldest, and then my brother, who's a year older than me, he and I are actually going to be the same age from December 5th to December 9th. My birthday is the 5th. I'll be 60 this December. Well, for 4 days, he and I are both going to be 60, and then he gets to take on that title of older brother again. But then my younger brother, and I didn't black out his face. I don't think anyone would recognize any of us. We were kids, but my younger brother, he said, don't black my face out. He wanted his face to be seen. I call him Pick in the book, my partner in crime, because I was real mischievous and I needed someone to have all this fun with, and he was the one. So, and he and I were just talking over the weekend, and some things he remembers and other things he doesn't. But, you know, I when it comes to me, I'll just tell the truth. I was abandoned at the age of 5. I was in foster care for 2 years. I've done some pretty boneheaded things in my life, and but I've learned from them. And I've done a lot of good things too. I gotta accept that. And I've enjoyed life, and I'll continue to enjoy life. And if I ever get to that point, and I pray I do, where I can say, like Mr. Dunn said, I've lived such a blessed life, I'm not afraid of dying. I know my sister, when she took her last few breaths, and I was there right with her, she was scared. Mm-hmm. She was scared. And I just remember telling her, you don't have to fight anymore, just relax. You don't have to fight. Because she was a fighter. And she fought for me, and I got to give her that. I did. Someone told me, and I believe it, the last thing to go is hearing. She wasn't able to talk. Sure, she squinted and tried to see, but she heard everything, mm-hmm. And I thanked her. I thanked her for protecting me during those younger years. And I don't think I've thanked her enough. But I know that's what she wanted me to do, and I did. So.
Well, I think that although it started out, and it could have been a totally different story for you if it weren't for the Pariseaus, and I think we are all lucky that that they were the people that they were, because they've turned you into the man that you are today. So I think that that there's a lot of thanks that goes to your sister, and also to them, and to all of your siblings as well, and your wife and your kids and your grandkids, because they have turned you into the man that you are today. And I would say that you're successful.
Well, I appreciate
even if you don't see it that way.
I
would say that you are.
Making it here right on time for the interview.
That did cause a little stress. I will tell you that.
I was telling you. I mean, I'm from this area. I don't live too far from this area. You've mm-hmm. been to where
I was there
Saturday. And I keep thinking I can get here quicker than I can, but that road is the curviest road I've been on, and I'm looking at the clock and thinking, I got to be there, preferably at 8:45. Well, that was out the window.
Well, we're glad that you made it here safe, and I'm so glad that you stopped in to share with us the developments since you wrote the book, and hopefully it continues to be successful. I'm sure you have other stories that. Do you plan on sharing more of them, or have we passed this part of our lives?
I just want to see if this book accomplishes what I wanted to accomplish, and that's getting the word out to as many people as possible. And yeah, there's a lot I could actually still write about. I mean, when it comes to adoption, the child protective care system, a lot of stuff I can talk about. And I'm a talker. Back in school, I wasn't. I was the shyest guy in our graduating class. But now, anyone that hears that would think, what, you can't shut up, you know?
Well, we'll have to have you back again to share some more of your stories.
I could talk for hours.
Well, we'll have to have you back because I think they are important stories. I think how we deal with trauma at different points in our life is important to talk about and not keep closed off within you. I think it's healthier to be able to express them and to share your stories with other people so that you can help them along the way.
Can I say one last thing,
of
if
course.
you don't care? Now, being open-minded is something I've got to work on, and I got to see things from other perspectives. When I was adopted, Mom and Dad were told by a social worker, I guess, that I'm retarded. That word, I didn't believe it. Mom didn't believe it. But I couldn't read. I couldn't write. But, school wasn't a priority for me in foster care. Every time I went from one home to another, I went from one school to another. It was hard to learn.
Oh, of course.
But once I was settled down in Jackson County and I went to the same school and I started to make friends, went on to graduate college. I'm not retarded, and I know people that are, and God bless them, but I'm not going to accept that label because I'm not. And I think that comes with being open-minded, rather than that social worker thinking, well, he couldn't learn. Mm-hmm. He's not smart, so therefore he's retarded. And again, I just don't want to take that label.
That brings up a whole other
there's things
other road that we can go down about the security of a child and how it impacts their ability to learn. So once again, thank you for joining us, Jon Pariseau, local author from Wellston. If you want to pick up his book, it's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Liv put the website in the comments so that you can go and
you could actually get the book off of my website.
You can buy it directly from him. You can contact him if you have questions, share your stories with him. And
I don't know a lot about technical stuff, technology, but I guess blog. Mm-hmm. I can blog, people can blog, and we can communicate. I don't know how to do all that. Hopefully,
but you can probably email. They can probably email you through the site, so you can email them. Share your stories if you connect with them about Wellston or about adoption or the foster system or just about anything, I guess. Sure. So thanks again for joining us.
It was great talking to you.
And Jeremiah is here with us. So after a word from our sponsors, he will be in to share what happened over the weekend. I'm going to assume we're going to hear about the Ohilco Queens from late Saturday night. So we will be back right after a word from our sponsors.
From breaking news to heartwarming stories, the Telegram is your ticket to the latest buzz in town.
Read your daily dose of local headlines, sports, and entertainment and more, in hand and on paper.
Get a print and digital subscription for only $7.95 per month. Delivered fresh every Wednesday and Saturday.
Visit thetelegramnews.com or call 740-286-3023 today.
Don't just read the news, be a part of it.
Did you know Jackson is home to a locally owned and operated full-service print shop? Zip Printing covers all your print, signage, and design needs. From business cards, booklets, and posters to yard signs, banners, screen-printed t-shirts, oversized signage, and more. We can help you or your business advertise and look good doing it. Zip Printing also offers logo design. Allow us to assist you in building or elevating your brand today. Zip Printing is located in the Stockmeister Plaza at 708 East Main Street in Jackson, Ohio. So stop in or give us a call at 740-286-3023.
Jeremiah.
Hello, we made it. We're another work week here on a Monday morning.
And I had the weekend off. I mean, I very mindfully took the weekend off, but I know that you had a busy weekend because it was Ohilco Fest, and like we talked about last week, the crowning of the queens was late Saturday night.
Yeah, I took my last picture. I looked this morning at 11 o'clock. That's when I took my last group photo of the royalty, because we always pull them into the depot there because the lighting's better than on the stage to do the group pictures for the newspaper's sake. So,
Okay,
because there's been years that I've done it on stage, and sometimes there was one year like one of the girls was green, and I couldn't help that. It was just because of the way the lighting is. It's real weird. I don't know. So, but anyhow, we were there, and we'll go through the royalty. Go ahead and throw Little Miss up there. So here are your Little Miss. We showed them earlier in the week, when they were finalists, but here they are with their crowns and sashes. And pictured are the 2026 Wellston, Ohio Hill Country Festival Little Miss Queen and Court. From the left, that is first attendant Allie Wood, Little Miss Queen Avery Ray, and then second attendant Avery Nunley. So that is your Little Miss. Go ahead and throw Junior Miss up there. Here are the Junior Miss, all very excited. It's your 2026 Wellston, Ohio Hill Country Festival Junior Miss Queen and Court. That's from the left. First attendant, that's Jalea J. John. Junior Miss Queen, Kennedy Smith. And then second attendant, Molly Dupree. And then go ahead with the last one there. He's got to scoot him over there. Okay, and then here is your 2026 Wellston, Ohio Hill Country Festival Queen and Court. From the left, that is first attendant Aaliyah Rusk, Queen Alexis Hellman, and second attendant Abigail Cooper. So that is a rundown of your royalty. They so when they get crowned, they go out to different festivals, events, and they represent Wellston, the Wellston Hillco Festival. I think it was last year, or might have been 2 years ago, they changed it. It used to be when they received their crown their Saturday night. That's kind of when their reign started. The folks that were over that decided to push it back a little bit.
Okay.
So actually, their reign will begin on October 1st.
Okay.
And will run from October to October. So come Apple Festival Parade, the royalty that you see in there is actually the 2025 royalty.
That's probably their last event.
That should be their last event, is the Jackson Apple Festival Parade. And then that new set of royalty will start traveling.
They're probably the new royalty. Their first event could be the pumpkin show up in Circleville. Probably. So
if there's not something else.
Yeah, you probably start with pumpkins and end with apples. I mean,
Right.
I don't think anything says this area more than that.
Yeah,
so.
and I know
those are two of the best festivals in the area. So.
Right, and I know they try to hit some of the local stuff too. Ohilco a couple years ago became involved in the. They have a Halloween block party.
Okay.
Uptown, and not sure when that takes place this year. I haven't heard dates yet, but that's usually a big thing. And there's like a trunk or treat type thing where the kids go through, and then the Wellston Lions Club has their they call it like a parade, but it's more of like a march. They march around this big circle, and they get judged and get first, second, third for the different types of costumes. So that's pretty neat. So you may see them then.
Okay.
I'm sure
they will be out and about.
They will be out and about,
as the royalty tend to be. So.
Yeah. I wanted to go over real quick here. I did cover the grand finale parade.
Okay. How was that?
It was nice. There was a lot of units. I didn't send any pictures over. Just running behind this morning, but we will have some pictures in the paper on the different winners. And I will say the lead car. It's always a Wellston Police Department car. Mm-hmm. They had a nice wreath on the front of the hood. I'm going to guess that was in memory for Officer Juniper. And we also saw the family of the Grand Marshal, Emily's family. There was more of them. They were wearing shirts, walking through the parade. A lot of different highlights throughout the parade.
Was Officer Blue there?
I
don't know. Blue?
I don't know if I saw Blue in the parade.
Liv, we need to get Officer Blue back in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Officer Blue, he is back on duty.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah,
so,
I do know that.
We need to get him back in the studio.
Yeah. So real quick here, so I can give my chair back to Pete because I know he's got a few things to touch on. So it's the Wellston Hillco Society. They give out awards for the parade. And the parade marching band category, first place went to Christian Life Academy.
Okay.
And then in the baton corps, they did a first place to Eclipse, second place to Show Dolls, and third place to Encore Elite. And then in the parade floats, first place went to Bundy PTO, which that's your Bundy Elementary float with all the kids. It was a very Golden Rocket theme, and the blue and gold. And then second place went to Grace Baptist Fellowship, and third place went to the Wellston High School senior class of 2026. So that is a rundown of your parade winners. So I'm going to give my seat up to Pete because I know he's got some news to cover as well.
Okay.
So thanks for having me.
Okay. Bye, Jeremiah. We'll see you soon. Thanks for the update. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning. I tell you what, Cheryl, I know we have limited time. We had the author in, talk to him, and Jeremiah shared some of the highlights of the Ohio Hill Country Festival. We tag teamed that. I was there on Saturday as well. So here on the back end of the festival, we'll show some other photos of what went on, and also talk about some winners. We always want to salute the karaoke contest people, right?
Yes.
Because that is putting yourself out there, right?
That 100% is. Anytime you stand out on stage, whether it's singing your own song, singing karaoke during comedy, whatever it is, I mean, no matter how many times you've done it, your heart like does the little flutter. So yeah.
Right, and you don't know whether you're going to hit all those notes or not. But you know, there's a big worth in trying.
Oh yeah.
But the winner was Charlie Mannering. I think he's been on the show before.
He has.
He's from Wellston. I think he's from Wellston, or he's a Wellston native. But and he sings around the area. He was the winner.
Okay.
At first place. Second place went to Alexandria Farrell. And third place to Shannon Witt. That was on Friday evening. That was the big Friday evening entertainment. Now, in the depot, we talked about this because, you know, this is just off the midway, but still very worthy of attention. They had the art show, and they had the
quilt show, right?
The quilt, craft, and needlework show.
Oh,
all those things.
Okay.
It was quilts was the main attraction there. But on the art show, and we can cue you there, Adrian, there was a young man named Sullivan Potter. He graduated from Wellston High School a couple years ago. Very smart kid, very bright, involved in the arts and academics and in the plays. His mother is a teacher at Wellston and also the play director. Well, here's what Sullivan did, a trifecta.
Oh, wow.
He won all three major awards in the art show. He won the Best of Show, which of course is the top award. There you go.
Okay.
Now, that is not Sullivan, if that might have fooled Adrian, but that is Dana Lockard with the Rotary Club. They kind of minded the shop there at the art show. And this was so creative. You see, he did a kind of book that had 32 on it. There are 32 miles in State Route 32 because he's from Wellston and he goes to Ohio University. And that's you go on State Route 32, and I don't know whether it's 32 miles between, but it's close to that.
Okay.
So there was scenes, different depictions using art in that book there. It looks like a book, and it does open up with pages.
That's very creative.
And it was very creative, and he won the Best of Show award. He also won the Sharon Davis Stube Award, which is a family award in honor of the late Sharon Davis Keller, who has passed away but was very active in the community. That is the Southern Ohio coal photo, Adrian. You should have that too. And this was creative as well. It also won the People's Choice Award. So it won the Sharon Davis Stube Award, and it won the best, or not the Best of Show, but the People's Choice Award. And it was a picture. It was an oil painting on slate of a Southern Ohio Coal Company building.
Okay.
And around it, it was framed by coal, because the coal was just so big in this area. Not so big as it was then, but it is not so much now as it was then. We should have that, Adrian. Okay. Well, anyway, if it doesn't come up, I will tell you that it was also creative because it had one of the old buildings. This is where so many people had blue collar jobs, mining the coal and involved in getting it to customers and so forth.
Well, that was such an important part of this region's history and formation.
But the coal framed this picture, and it might be, maybe I didn't send that to Adrian, so don't sweat it, Adrian. We acknowledged it. Now, over on the other end of the depot was the Quilt, Craft, and Needlework Show. And the winner there was Lenore Houston. Lenore Houston had, there it is, Lenore Houston had the best of show quilt. That is not Lenore, but that is Hester Cosby, who is a retired teacher with the Wellston City Schools, great volunteer along with Tammy Phillips putting on that show. And you say that quilt is beautiful. I've always thought that the quilts are art themselves.
Oh, they are.
They truly are. Let alone the work.
As somebody who has quilted and sewn, that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. That is so far beyond my skill level. That is a complete piece of art.
Right, and there was a young lady, a freshman at Wellston High School named Dorian Hall, who won the People's Choice Award for quilts. So she had one of the top quilts too. And so if you think that this is just something that that the older ladies do or the older people do, younger people are jumping on that too, because
which is very important.
It's a great expression of art, a great hobby to have, and then of course you've got a very personal gift maybe to give somebody or for yourself.
And it's one of those
it's
things
something you hand down through generations.
It is. It's a generational thing. So it's something that that will last 100 or more years down the road. So,
right.
So it's very, very lasting.
I didn't know whether you knew this, Cheryl, being from California and just moving here. But the quilts back in pre-Civil War and during the Civil War were signs on the Underground Railroad, where people were coming across from the South, fleeing from slavery. They were given directions basically by what was on quilts, because you could get in trouble for helping the slaves.
We had a gentleman in last week, I think it was, that was with the Emancipation Celebration, the Emancipation Proclamation celebration going on down at Rio. And we talked about that, about folk art and especially quilts, and how hidden messages were sewn into the designs to be able to direct people to who was safe and where they could stay and what paths to take and things like that, which was absolutely fascinating. So
Right. Oh, no, it is very fascinating. How they did that with the quilts back pre-Civil War. One other event we're going to touch on, because I know we're past our time, but one of the other events we want to touch on was the Touch-a-Truck event that was at the Ohilco Festival. It was held from noon to 2, and fortunately, the rain, very light, it didn't chase anybody away. But one of the things they did, they had all these big trucks, emergency trucks, fire trucks, work trucks. One of the more popular ones was the AEP Ohio Electric bucket truck.
Okay.
And one of the AEP employees, as you can see there, his name is Dominic Schatz. He is there with young Caramon Kuhn of Gallipolis, and Caramon got to go all the way up over there. You can see how high it goes. He was in there actually when I took that picture, and he was he was smiling big at the end for the experience.
Yeah, that's Ferris wheel level thrills.
Right.
I'm sure.
And speaking of Blue was at the Touch-a-Truck.
There you go.
And that is, of course, that is Officer Jay, his handler, smiling Officer Jay. And I talked with him briefly, and not only is Blue back in service, but Blue is 100% recovered. He said, there's no hitching. He's getting along. He shouldn't be not experiencing any pain. The dog is as good as new.
Oh, well, thank
And that
goodness.
is such good news. It was such a cause in Wellston when that dog suffered serious injuries after being hit by an automobile.
Blue looked like he was smiling as well, so I'm sure he's happy to be back out in the community among people because he's a very social dog.
Right,
so.
and we love him at the paper because he's very photogenic.
Of course.
So you can see he stuck his head out.
We like Officer J, too,
Stuck his head out the window there. But just a little promo. We've given you just kind of like a few slices of the Ohio Hill Country Festival. I think it was successful again. We're going to have some coverage and pictures, of course, in our our Wednesday paper, and we are already on the horse promoting the Jackson Apple Festival, which is not this week. We get a short respite, but it starts next week.
I know.
A week from Tuesday. And it, of course, is a big deal on the downtown streets of Jackson with the extra booster shot of the Ohio State University marching band coming to town
know,
for
it's been
the Saturday of the
crazy.
festival, in the parade and in the band show. So, we'll be telling you all about that. Lots of other news going on, and maybe we'll get back on the regular news beat tomorrow to tell you what's going on there. Because, we wish we could control the news a little bit when there's too much, but we can't. So, we just feel like there's water coming over the dam and we can't get it all. But we do try. So anyway, we do appreciate the chance to talk about it a little bit here on Main Street TV.
It was a good news Monday. I'm gonna go with that.
It was.
And it looks like it's shaping up to be a very pretty day today. And so we hope you have a wonderful day. Tomorrow, Jen will be back. Yay! And so I will cede my seat, and we will be joined by the Jackson Apple Festival Committee telling us what is to come in the next week. I can't believe it's already Apple Festival time. That is just absolutely insane. That means we're going to be halfway through September. It's going to be Christmas before we know it.
Yeah, just the way the calendar worked out, it's the earliest possible start for both the Ohio Hill Country Festival and the Apple Festival. Just the way the calendar, it kind of revolves around the third week of the month and when Monday falls. And this time, Monday was September 1st. So instead of the festival ending on the 25th or 26th, this time it's going to end on the 22nd, which is the earliest possible ending date for the Apple Festival.
Well, there's a lot of fun coming in the next 2 weeks, that's for certain, and we will have all of the information on it. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Cheryl. Thank you for sitting in for Jennifer. She should be well rested and ready to go.
I hope so. I know that.
Although vacations can tire you out too.
I don't know. I think I need a week-long vacation somewhere. Maybe I don't know. Air,
Okay. Well, you have earned it if you decide to do that.
Air, I hope you're watching because I need a week-long vacation too on a beach. That would be awesome because I miss the ocean. But so thank you for joining us here on Monday, and we will see you right back here tomorrow morning. Bye, everybody.